Like marijuana or not, it's a big industry in Colorado, providing thousands of jobs and tens of millions of dollars in tax revenue every year that pays for school construction, drug programs, recreation centers, and more. But sales recently are down, way down, already leading to layoffs and closures. Tonight, only on KRDO, we're asking whether that's simply the market leveling off or something else.
3, 2, 1.
April 1st, Las Cruces, New Mexico, the first ever sale of recreational marijuana in that state. Dispensaries there are expected to do $300 million in sales a year. But New Mexico is only the latest state where it can now be sold. You can now find medical or recreational marijuana sold in all but 12 states, including half of those that surround Colorado. Geography, though, isn't the only factor here. Marijuana sales in Colorado hit a record high at the height of the pandemic, when people were working from home and receiving large government stimulus checks. Monthly sales peaked at $226 million in July of 2020, and sales remained high through the first half of 2021, but then a steady decline. And in May of this year, sales were down just over 32%.
Should we be worried about the future of the industry?
No.
Adam Orens tracks marijuana sales and trends for the State Department of Revenue. He believes 8 years after recreational marijuana became available to purchase, Colorado has simply reached a plateau in sales, although many cities will be impacted by the new business in surrounding states.
A city like Trinidad's sales or Pueblos, will decline because folks that may be coming from Dallas can go somewhere in New Mexico instead.
But Orens blames most of the recent decline on people heading back to work and society returning to normal after the pandemic.
I think it's more to do about COVID than anything else.
The marijuana industry, however, isn't so sure. Tom Scudder says business at his medical dispensaries is down 50% in the past year, forcing him to lay off more than a few workers.
I think we laid off 27 people in the grow and probably 6 in the retail store.
He says medical sales haven't been this bad since 2013, long before the pandemic.
They think we're all getting rich and things are going extraordinarily well. But if you're on the inside of the industry, you understand the harsh reality that we're dealing with right now. And it's a pretty tough situation.
We're currently at the brink.
Tiffany Goldman is the chairman of the Marijuana Industry Group, which represents the owners of roughly 400 dispensaries across the state, although that number is shrinking.
They are closing their shops because they cannot continue. I'm talking about thousands of jobs that are going to be lost.
Both Tiffany and Tom believe the recent plummet in sales is not due to the pandemic cool down, but House Bill 1317, which passed last year and took effect January 1st. It was intended to reduce the number of teens using marijuana and limits the amount of cannabis concentrate an adult can buy to 8 grams a day. Previously, it was 40 grams a day.
So it went from already restricted to far more restricted as of January 1st.
These patients do not have access to what they need on a daily basis.
They worry that too much taxing and regulations will lead to what's happening in California and Oregon, people going back to buying illegally grown marijuana instead.
The black market's going to thrive once again.
And that would threaten not only those businesses that remain open, but the annual tax revenue, last year alone totaling more than $400 million.
If we continue to regulate and tax at the level we have done recently, it's a very real possibility that we could, essentially run the business out of town.
And in fairness, there are plenty of people who think running the industry out of town wouldn't be such a bad thing. We reached out to State Rep Alec Garnett, who sponsored House Bill 1317 last year, to ask about the impact. He did not return our calls. If the current sales trend continues, the Marijuana Industry Group predicts the state will bring in $80 million fewer dollars in tax revenue this year than last year.